Welcome back to the news. In today's broadcast, we'll be talking about J.K. Rowling's new success, as well as an interview with a Norwegian school student discussing the culture and everyday life of the English culture. We will also be having a weather and geographical report, as well as an interview with an historian about English culture and history. Then we will have an interview with a principal, and we will talk about the English school system and education.
England is made up of about 65% of the islands of Great Britain. England's climate is described as being temperate maritime. The winter temperatures is seldom below 0 degrees Celsius, while summer highs can reach about 30 degrees Celsius. January and February are coldest and usually experience snowfall, while July is the warmest month. It often rains in England in all seasons. England has two land borders, one with Scotland that follows the Trygve Hills and one with Wales. London is the largest area in England and one of the largest and busiest cities in the world. Much of England consists of rolling hills and plains. The highest mountain in England is Scafell Pike. It is 978 meters above sea level, and the longest river in England is the River Severn.
J.K. Rowling has reached new popularity through her assistance in the making of the movie Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Through her works of the Harry Potter movies and books, she has now written herself down in history, in the literature and British and English history. She has been once again very popular, and she has become a household name in the entire world. According to the Sunday Times, she is now one of the richest people in England.
Where are you from?
Norway.
What is specific to British culture?
I find that being polite is very specific to British culture. You're all very quick to say sorry, even though it may not be your fault. You may stand in line on the bus stop and say sorry if you may happen to, bump into someone.
Is there anything you find odd?
Maybe the fact that you all eat British breakfast. I thought that was just a stereotype, but apparently it's not. And you all love British breakfast and eating sausages and mash for dinner. I heard some of my fellow students say that other countries are very specific on and take pride in their food, while in England and Britain they just eat.
Was there something that surprised you about the British culture?
Maybe the food way about the whole British breakfast, and that is that's a typical stereotype of the British people, but here it's not, because people do eat that for breakfast. And maybe the fact that everybody is extremely polite and have a sort of overly self-disciplined version that they think of when they're in public. Who are you? What do you work as, and where do you work?
I am Hilary French, and I'm the headmistress at the Newcastle High School for Girls.
What makes English schools different from other countries?
British school students usually wear uniforms, and almost everything you need for school is provided for you. You start school at 5 or younger, and a school day lasts from 9 until 3:30. It's very unusual to repeat a year. Individual schools are unusually autonomous. Teachers are treated respectfully, but don't earn respect by default. You study fewer subjects than in many other countries. Students are encouraged to speak up and share their opinions, and there is usually something to do after school.
Thank you very much.
Who are you?
Scots Edinburgh,
What do you work as?
English historian.
Could you do a quick summary of English history?
Well, English history began when the first people came to it thousands of years ago. They were both from Mesolithic and Neolithic. And from the Bronze Age, you can start to see monuments like the Stonehenge or Avebury began to form. And during the Iron Age, the island and the British Isles that are known today were taken over by the Romans. and the people that lived there were Celtic origin, and they spoke Celtic language, and they were known as the Britons or Britonians. In the later ages of Britain, in around the year 800, England as a country was constantly raided by Vikings from Scandinavia, specifically Norway and Denmark. The Vikings, or the northern people, took control of big areas of England, and during this time period, many kings tried to unify with different kingdoms from Scandinavia, but they all failed. Around the 1100s, England takes over control over Wales, and later in the 1700s, Scotland, and then that's the beginning of the British Empire. The British Empire keeps growing and takes control over Northern Ireland, as well as developing into other countries like New Zealand or Australia. And after time, and after the Second World War, these other colonies, or British colonies, specifically from Africa and Australia and New Zealand, start to gain freedom from the British Empire. And now the British Empire is only Wales, Scotland, and England.
Thank you for your time.
If you're a tourist or just a local wanting to sightsee in England, these are some of the places that you should see. Stonehenge, an ancient stone monument made from the Mesolithic era, and it's located in Salisbury in Wiltshire. It's a symbol of England, and many people know it. It's extremely popular and symbolizes the historical changes during the Bronze Age in England. Another place you should visit is Palace of the Westminster. If you're in London, this is a must. It is not only a symbol for London, but a symbol for the England as a whole. It holds the British Parliament as well as Big Ben. It's a symbol of the democracy and the ruling form in England. Not only that, but the London Eye is just a walk away from the Westminster Palace, and it's another must-see if you're in London, as it is so close to the Palace of the Westminster. From the top you can see the entirety of London and its beauty, as well as the Thames. It is also a very popular symbol of England, or rather London, and has become very famous during recent medias. Another thing to see is the British Museum, located as well in London. It's a grand museum about British history and British changes and the British Empire. The National Gallery, or the London Bridge, also very close, are also some really popular places to visit while in London. Another place that's highly popular is Museum of the Roman Bath, which is from when the Romans ruled over England. It's a hot spring of sorts where you can come and bathe in a typical Roman bath. That's all the places we had time for today. Thank you for watching the news.